The air was thick with unease as Emily stepped out of the taxi and stared at the looming Ravenswood Manor. Once a grand estate, now it stood in eerie silence, abandoned and decaying. Its windows were like hollow eyes, staring into her soul. Despite the warnings from locals, Emily, a seasoned journalist, was determined to uncover the truth behind the rumors that had haunted the manor for decades. As she walked up the creaky stone steps, the door groaned open on its own, as if welcoming her into the dark void of history. The smell of dust and rot filled her nostrils, and the silence was broken only by the soft scurry of rats in the walls. She pulled out her flashlight and took a deep breath, pushing forward into the manor's dark, unwelcoming halls. Each room she passed seemed to hold secrets from a forgotten past. The faded wallpaper, peeling and torn, whispered of better times, before the tragedy that had struck this place. Emily's heart raced as she reached the grand staircase that spiraled upwards, leading to the unknown. Her flashlight flickered as she ascended, the beam casting long, ghostly shadows on the walls. The house seemed alive with the whispers of the past. A soft, chilling laugh echoed from somewhere above, sending a shiver down Emily's spine. She stopped dead in her tracks, listening intently. The laughter stopped, replaced by an unsettling silence that pressed in on her from all sides. Emily's instincts told her to turn back, but the journalist in her pushed her forward. She reached the top of the stairs and turned left, walking towards the master bedroom, the room where the most mysterious events had taken place. The door was ajar, and the air inside was cold, too cold for comfort. She hesitated, but entered. The room was exactly as the stories described. Old furniture covered in white sheets, an ornate mirror that seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. In the center of the room stood an old rocking chair, slowly moving back and forth on its own. Emily's breath caught in her throat as she watched the chair. Was someone there? Was this part of the manor's haunting? Suddenly, the room grew colder. A faint whisper, almost inaudible, reached Emily's ears. "Leave now." She spun around, but there was no one there. The whisper grew louder, more urgent. "You shouldn't have come, it's too late." Her flashlight flickered again, this time going out completely. In the pitch darkness, she felt a hand on her shoulder, icy cold. She spun around, her heart pounding in her chest, but there was no one there. Panic set in as Emily rushed for the door, but as she reached for the handle, the door slammed shut with a force that rattled the walls. She backed away, her breathing shallow. The air was thick with a suffocating presence. Then, through the small crack at the bottom of the door, she saw it. A shadow, tall, dark, and formless, standing at the edge of the room. It began to move toward her, slow at first, then faster, growing larger with every step. Emily was frozen, her mind screaming to run, but her body wouldn't respond. The shadow was almost upon her when a loud crash echoed from downstairs. The door burst open, and Emily, heart racing, bolted out of the room and down the stairs. She didn't dare look back as she ran through the hall, the sound of footsteps chasing her echoing through the manor. Finally, she reached the front door, which stood wide open, as if waiting for her. She didn't stop to question it. She just ran. As she reached the driveway, she heard the distant sound of the rocking chair again. And then, a voice, clear, like a scream in the wind, calling her name. Emily. Her legs gave way as she collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. The world around her seemed to blur, and the manor loomed in the distance, like a giant watching her from the shadows. That was the last thing she remembered before everything went black.